And you are live.
All right, thank you. So thanks for joining us for the Board Policy Subcommittee. So we are continuing the extensive review of policies by alphabet letter. You may recall initially this meeting we were going to be covering the G's as well as the H's. Instead, we're just doing the H's for this meeting. Many of the G policies, which are all around staff, are going to be impacted potentially by the outcomes of our collective bargaining that's happening right now with our different union groups. So we have elected to move the order to push the Gs back to give us time to get through all of our negotiations. So we make sure that the G policies reflect the outcomes of that. Otherwise, we might be making changes now and then have to come back 3 or 4 months later and then do some editing. So we thought it was cleaner just to do all that in the summer when we have all that information. And so Wendy Pendergrass took the lead on the H's. And so I'll pass it over to Wendy if you want to talk about the H's.
Yeah, we had minimal changes on both of these policies. Tom, if you want to hit the very first one. In this, I do believe the only change we made was some verbiage, and I think we changed it to may. Katina, do you have anything to add? Because Katina is my partner in crime on policies.
Yes. Yeah, we did change it to May, but just as an FYI, we do support efforts for districts when they ask for information on things that, what our CBAs look like, or collective bargaining agreements look like. We do share information. So we are participating. That does happen.
Do you want to make one note here, though? What you're seeing on the screen, HA is one that in 2024 went to the board for a first reading. It ended up getting tabled and not going for a second reading. So after the time, if you want to scroll up to the top part, after kind of the opening statement in general, then from there, a lot of this language is new, but the board has seen this before. So you've seen this at the board policy committee before, and you've seen it on first read. It just hadn't gone for a second read yet because it got tabled last time it went through. So this would be new language this go around. Just want to make that
Why it was
clarification.
tabled?
There were some questions by Director Suda at the time, and then it was one where it was just an oversight where it didn't come back to the board for a second reading.
Okay.
Was the question? Go ahead, Dr. Cunha.
I was just going policy HA. Third paragraph down under general, last line. Explain all that. Policy and district procedures will govern in the absence of a binding agreement when the agreement doesn't address the issue. Does this mean if in fact it says, and a new agreement has not been reached? So in other words, if an agreement is not reached, does it bounce back to what? The district's policy and procedure?
So what it's saying is district board policy would be what we follow as long as there's not language that contradicts district policy in a joint resolution.
But if the joint resolution, my understanding on this is if that joint resolution is not passed at that time, it goes back to district policy. Is that correct? Or
correct.
procedures?
If the agreement is expired. Yep.
Okay. It's an interesting line. Okay.
My comment was just going to be regarding, was the reason it was tabled related to timing of negotiations? I think there's some language about that.
Yes, I believe it was related to the timing of negotiations.
Right. So where was that change? Because again, this is so weird. So what I can see and what you're sharing is different.
Pardon me?
Yeah, what Kevin is sharing and what I can see is different.
Wow.
And President Meeks, you're going through the actual meeting?
Yep. Yeah, policy committee meeting.
Because I mean, if I go back here, you can see it. This is the policy committee meeting, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm just pulling up this document from here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll have to troubleshoot that. Is that the same for anyone else?
No.
I see it.
Yeah, I can see some, I can see, the document I see has, comments on it, like edited
Yeah,
comments on it.
me too. And I feel like this was flipped for somebody else last time, but that's what's
Oh,
happening.
like down here, these two?
Yeah.
It's weird. But yeah, I had questions about the date change. So I see the comment was like, should we make this earlier? But I can't tell if it was changed or not.
Okay, the way where it said December and they wanted to make that
Mhm,
earlier.
mhm.
Okay.
Initiation of negotiations. Mhm.
Do we want to make that earlier than that? And that's what
Katina,
the
was there
comment,
talk? Sorry, Dr. Cuneo.
go right ahead.
Katina, was there comments about making this earlier? I think that you and I had chatted about it, or maybe it was Kevin and I that had chatted about it. I don't think there was any decision if we wanted to start it earlier.
There wasn't a decision, but it's, December's late. Like when you're thinking about the point of the year that we are in, the sooner you start, I think it is better. But this doesn't mean we cannot start before that time either,
It just means you have to start by December.
by that time.
Okay,
Yes.
so, okay, it has to be done, but it can be
And
done earlier.
I think the
Absolutely.
previous policy did not have a date listed at all, correct?
I do believe so, yes.
And Dr. Laws, you're comfortable with keeping this at December 1st, knowing that you have the flexibility to start earlier or the hopes to start
Yes.
earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
I'm,
That was my clarification.
and I'm in agreement with it.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more quick question. When this is brought to the board for review, could we please make sure it's just pulled out of the consensuals just so that they can look at it, so they can,
Yes, sir.
make sure
I
everybody's
will do
aware
that.
of it?
And then for the Ds, there were just two small edits. There was one here on the audit policy where there was just a reference to the regulation was added.
I didn't see any problems in this.
And then purchasing was just a cross-reference. And then the language about, yeah, the 5 years.
Did we ever have contracts that exceeded 5 years?
We did, if you recall, the Parkway Transportation Agreement that
Yes,
ended
you're right.
last year, that was a 10-year agreement.
Wow.
Are there any other types of agreements that might be anticipated to last more than 10 years or might need to last more than 10 years that anybody can think of?
We don't have any leases going past 10 years, do we?
We do not. The only thing that might is if we ever chose, and that'd be something worth revisiting here, is if we ever chose to lease buses instead of purchase buses. That's the only one that could possibly go beyond 5 years. We do lease vehicles in our white fleet, so vehicles used for facilities and snow removal, but those are all 5 years or less, so they wouldn't be impacted by this. And that really the Parkway Agreement for Transportation, the only reason that one was as long as it was because it did involve some physical infrastructure changes. And if you were going to make those physical infrastructure changes, you'd want it to be a longer than 5 year deal. But in the near future, I don't see anything that we would be doing that would need more than 5 years.
Is it, I mean, I feel like maybe it's probably not a good idea to put in an exception into that statement. I know there's a list of exceptions at the bottom as well, but yeah, but more pondering than anything else.
Yep, and that's all we had on the Ds.
Great. Thank you. That was easy today.
Yep. Next time we'll be covering the I policies. There are a lot of I policies because I is everything instruction. So buckle up for next time.
All righty. Just one quick, maybe somebody can tell.
Should we stop the
How
live
do you-
stream?
How
Yeah.
do you bring, yeah, can we stop
Should
the
we
live,
stop the live stream first?
please? Have we stopped the live stream?
I just ended it.
Yeah. If I want to